You spent countless hours in the garage with your dad. Now investing in that old car and working on it with your son reminds you of him. And his legacy lives on. Fund your passion with a low-interest home equity line of credit from Bank of Blue Valley.
Oh, you got your cup. Look at you.
The best cup ever.
It's the best cup ever. And in fact, my daughter was so excited about the cup. She used it last night at dinner. So I'm going to have it. I had to put the rules in that people couldn't use my show cup on Mondays.
No, I keep this one perfectly placed for my good old Bank of Blue Valley. And someone also did a home line of credit that's on this show. So, and a pool line of credit. And maybe it's because of this beautiful blue background, we're starting to see some sun pop up between the clouds. But how's your day going?
Dude, I need it to stop raining or I'm never going to get that pool. Ever.
Ooh, that's a good
For
point.
every day it rains, it pushes the pool construction back 2 days. So I need it to stop raining so we can have a pool party. Will you come to my pool party?
Duh. Talk about Friday afternoons.
Let's
like
do
me
it.
out of there every other Friday. You're gonna be like, this guy just keeps getting an Uber over, and he's inviting all these business people. But I feel like Bank of Blue Valley can solve every problem, but maybe not the weather. But who knows? Maybe Wendy Reynolds, the CEO of Bank, her outfit will brighten up the weather with what she's going to ask, because I think she's coming to the show.
She is going to come to the show today. And real quick, I've got to put a couple things out there that I reminded them. Bank of Blue Valley is growing so much. They are hiring a ton. But I want to tell you, if you happen to be bilingual, A, I am beyond jealous. And B, they are looking for you. They are looking for you if you're bilingual. They're hiring for a lot of different jobs, but especially if you're bilingual, they want to talk to you. So you can hit us up. You can go to their website. We can help you get in touch with the right people. But I promised them that I would say they are growing a lot. They're going into all parts of Kansas City. So I'm super excited. Hey, let us know if you're here. Let us know if you're watching. Are you ready for this? Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube. Let us know where you're watching us from, because we are super excited to say hello to everyone today. We have a great panel today. I think this was a Jessica Powell special panel today.
Jessica's amazing, very popular panel. I can judge by how popular it is by the number of text messages I get to ask the panel questions. And so there are a total of 5 today. So, but sincerely though, if someone does want to reach out to Bank of Blue Valley, or they have a friend, Aaron and I will introduce you directly to the folks that you need to talk to. Something very important to us is connecting, but if we can connect someone to a job opportunity, especially to an amazing organization like Bank of Blue Valley, please let us do it.
No, I'm super, super excited. Okay, so you said, oh, look at this. Watch him from LinkedIn. She is amazing. She knows
amazing.
it. I
is.
love nothing more than a woman that knows how amazing she is. Love you all. Love you too, Jessica. Okay, everyone else, let us know if you're watching, where you're watching from. So, Scott, I think that we've decided that whoever does the themes also has to do the music, so I'm all queued up.
I feel like if you want something done right, just butcher the process and have an amazing partner named Erin Fulk, and then she fixes it. And that's why you hire Lily and James Creative to help you with all your branding and marketing, because just took one little mishap and now you're ready to roll. But it's going to go amazing.
You were making a point at the thing. It was weird. Hold on. Look, Mike is here. Hey, Mike, looking forward to a great show today. So are we. So let's get started. How about that? All right. Let me get but I went with your music. Hi, Lori. How are ya? Okay. I went with your sports music. I call it sports music.
Woo!
It's kind of like is this basketball? It's basketball. Chicago Bulls basketball.
Chicago
Dennis
Bulls.
Rodman. I got you. All right. We're going to go ladies first. Our first guest today is Miss Kaitlin. Hi, Kaitlin.
Hi.
Our second guest today, Miss Carlanda. Third guest today, we used to hang out 20 years ago in the same circles. I haven't seen him for 20 years, but we're still only 25. Mr. Chris Cooley. And last but certainly not least, John. Thank you guys for coming. Did you guys feel like basketball players? Who felt like Dennis? My favorite. Look, we've got Lacey's here to watch. We've got all sorts of people. So Thank you guys so much. So listen, I told you in the pre-show, we jump right into it. So Kaitlin, who are you? What do you do? And how do you get to Kansas City?
I am Kaitlin Roberts. I'm a business development consultant, and also I have a few startups that have started and stagnated, but all with intention. So I try to live that life with intention and do different startup things and work in business development consulting across the HVAC and commercial real estate industries. I'm born and raised in Kansas City. So yeah. I'm a mom of 3 too.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Well, how old are your kiddos?
3, 6, and 8.
Not that you're busy or anything.
No,
but one unique thing is a lot of people in your industry are talking about their pipeline, and with commercial kind of being up in the air on what people are doing. What is one thing that is exciting about your pipeline? Maybe an area that you see as having a lot of potential that you're excited about.
I see a lot of engagement with innovative developers coming in to different areas of cities that they haven't been in before, and working with the communities, whereas before maybe they had the idea and came into the community. I see more community connection with what's going on, more intention behind things. And I see a lot of people leaning towards more sustainable building models that lean more towards home ownership in the long term. For multifamily. So a lot of things are being built with like the ability to be repurposed. And I think that's really cool. So, yeah.
And then if you had to pick one startup that you mentioned some have stagnated, but that you're excited about, that you think has a lot of potential, what would that be?
So OnCallHalal, which was what we started in the midst of the pandemic last year. We're doing something really exciting with that. It's not official or finalized yet, but we're kind of handing over the reins to 3 different community organizations that have already had deep roots in Kansas City. And the hope is that the 3 of them will work together to make it a community asset rather than just like an individually owned asset. So super excited about where that's headed.
And what did I already know. So what does UnCallHalal do?
Yeah. So we delivered meals to fasting healthcare workers during Ramadan last year. And we did a little bit this year, but it was much smaller scale because COVID situation was different. But what it did was it filled a gap that is really kind of been present for a long time in the healthcare industry. When healthcare workers, who are Muslim, are fasting from sunup to sundown, they don't have a lot of options available. With the pandemic, we were able to pair that with local halal restaurants. So it was like a win-win. But even without pairing them, there's still a need for this food to be available for fasting healthcare workers who are working 24 or 48-hour shifts, especially during the pandemic. So it kind of like brought light to that issue. And so I think a lot of people filled in their different cities to fill that gap this year. So that was exciting.
Yeah, because the food places at the hospital are open from this time to this time, and that is it. I know when my girlfriend misses the lunchtime, right? If a surgery goes long or something, like then there's no options usually. So that's amazing. Yeah,
it was good. So it's exciting to see where other people pick it up and take it. I kind of like to think of myself as a quarterback, and I have a lot of different running backs. Was that a good football reference? I don't know.
Well, that's a great reference. My mind is blown. I didn't realize I would think not even pandemic, there's still a very much a need for that. And as we move to more of a remote work culture, we're really good friends with the Business Journal on this show. And they came out with a great article last week. If you offered people in Kansas City $30,000, would they go back into the office? And overwhelmingly, people said, I'd rather work from home to have the flexibility. So it's super unique. And I think that it's a phenomenal business. I definitely I think you should keep that rolling.
Absolutely. Hopefully it will grow. I just have too many ideas. I got to go on to the next one. So I'm excited to help foster that one go in the right direction.
I love it. And Melanie says that's a cool idea. So I think lots of people are thinking, well, thank you so much, Kaitlin, for joining us. We're super excited to learn more about you. Carlanda, it looks like Janae knows both of you guys. So
hi, Janae.
Hi, Janae.
And Janae actually, she owns a tech marketing company, and she just won Digital Sandbox, I believe.
Yeah, they were also just named one of Startland's startups to watch for 2021.
Absolutely. So thanks for joining us, Janae. All right, Carlanda, who are you? What do you do? And how do you get here?
Hello, I'm Carlanda McKinney, and I do a lot of things, but I'm going to primarily talk about my startup, Boucard, today. So Boucard is a tech platform that uses computer vision and artificial intelligence to help online shoppers find the best brands for their bodies. So we don't just tell you what size you would buy, we tell you, okay, shop at Unina, Jessica Simpson, and Nautica, but do not shop at Gap because they don't have anything that will fit you. And then we refer shoppers from our website to our partner retailers and collect them commission off the sale. So that's what we do.
Genius.
All right, so you got to get a little more into this because you and I have known each other before. First of all, I love the show. It's all my people, Scott. It's all my founders, all my people that their brains don't stop working. But you, at your core, are a tech girl, right? And so you've gone through lots of stuff with tech. And tell us how you end up here, because I love the idea.
Yeah. So I'm not a developer, and I actually avoided anything math related or code related for a very long time in college and even when I was in grad school. But I got a job at Cerner right after getting my MBA, and I landed on the development team, and I learned to do everything except actually write code. So I know content, I do UI UX design, I do workflow design, I write technical requirements, all of that. So I had this startup idea like years and years ago. It started as really when I was getting my MBA at UMKC, entrepreneurship was my emphasis area. So to graduate, we had to write a business plan. And I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna figure out something to write a business plan about. And at the time it was to make custom bras, right? And this was before Third Love and True & Co. and Fenty and all that. But bras were still terrible back then, the same way they are now, and that's why everyone's fixing them. But it wasn't as crowded of a space. So that was my idea. And that sort of started me down this windy path that got me to where I am today. I will say that venture, Aphrodite Bra Company, it never really got off the ground, but I learned so much about clothing and apparel and how things fit and why things don't fit the way that people think they should when you look at an item in a store online, or why sizes are different, like a size 10 in one brand is a size 12 in another. So that venture kind of gave me all this information that I wasn't using because I was at Cerner, right? It's a health IT company, but I knew all this stuff about clothing. And I had done a couple other startups that were a little bit non-starters. And at the end of 2019, I was shopping online, and I do that a lot. And I had ordered, I think it was a dress, and I ordered 2 sizes because I knew that there was a really good chance one of them wouldn't fit me. And I actually used the Fit Finder quiz on this particular website. And it said, buy a size 10. And I'm like, well, I'm going to buy the 10 and the 12 because, for reasons, right? So I got them and neither of them fit. And I was really irritated because now I have to figure out how to get these back, and I don't have a dress for what I wanted to buy this dress for. And then I'm like, my founder brain is like, well, why did that happen? Why didn't the fit quiz work? And then as I'm peeling back layers, I realized, well, it's because I shouldn't have been shopping in that brand anyway, because they don't make clothes that are cut for my body. So technically the survey was right. I should have purchased the 10. There was nothing wrong with that. The problem was it was giving me information from the flawed perspective to begin with. I shouldn't have even been there. And so what Boucard does is we circumvent all that, and we're like, just don't even look at these brands. Just go to these. This is your people over here. And what that does, it's like a 2-pronged solution, right? So for the shopper, for us shopping people, it increases your customer satisfaction. You don't have to worry about sending a return back. You don't have to worry about just holding on to something and never wearing it. And you get to find new cool brands that maybe you didn't know about. From the retailer side, which is maybe even more important than the shopper side, it reduces the amount of returns. So statistically, half of all clothing bought online gets returned. And up to 92% of those returns are based on fit somehow, whether too small, too big, didn't fit quite right, something. And retailers have gotten to a point now, I don't know if any of you have returned stuff recently, but they're just kind of like, if you tell them you want to send something back, they're like, just keep it. We'll refund you the money. Don't even worry about sending it back, because it's such a financial drain to get it back and process it and all this other stuff. So our premise is that if we can just help your shoppers make smarter choices up front, you don't have to worry about all that downstream. We save you money and we make you money, and it's,
Is this more of a women problem?
Is it what?
Is it more of a woman problem getting the wrong sizes, or is it across?
It's more of a avid shopper problem. So yes, because women statistically shop more online. So it is more of a woman problem, but men also have issues with clothing. For example, clothing is made in proportions. So if you're really tall and really thin, it's difficult for you to get a button-down shirt that fits around the neck and at the sleeves, because the assumption is if you're bigger this way, you're also bigger this way. Mm-hmm. So shirts just kind of grow in all directions when you really only need them to grow this way. And there are a few brands that construct shirts that way, and then there are brands that don't. And so Bodify would be able to say, here are the brands that make shirts the way that you need them to fit, and here are the ones that do not. Well, we wouldn't really tell you who they are.
Right. Let's go here. So I was wrong a few minutes ago when I pulled up Janae. Janae was named by Startland, one of the startups to watch. But you actually were the winner of Digital Sandbox.
Yes. So I won this quarter. Janae won a couple quarters ago.
Okay.
As well.
Okay.
So we are both
winning.
Googling.
Yeah. So we're both Sandbox. Yeah. So I did just I was an awardee in Q1. I mean, all my days are the same now, but it was the last tranche of announcements, I think, that they made back in like March, April, something like that. So that was pretty cool. And then a little before that, Bodify was on the startups to watch list for Casey Business Journal. So not the Startland one, but the Casey Business Journal one. And that actually got us a lot of regional attention. I've been fielding a lot of calls from people. It's a new feeling for me. People are like, "Hey, you want to take my money?" I'm like, "Hey, sure." Let's have a conversation. So yeah, it's
all right. Well, next time you need to tell people that kind of stuff.
Yes, I will. Sorry.
About it. No, you're good. Chris, who are you? What do you do, and how do you get to Kansas City?
Yeah. So Chris Cooley. I am an account executive at a cybersecurity company called Fortinet, and I also run the Cloud Security Alliance chapter here in Kansas City. How I got here, that's kind of a long story, but we got a couple of minutes, so buckle up. I came to Kansas City in the late 90s, have been here since, and bounced around a lot of big company jobs. There's a couple things about me. I am incredibly curious about how things work, and I am also very driven to find ways to do things better. Like I always feel like there's a better way. So I bounce through your sprints, your gateways, and when you're the inside sales guy and you're like, why are we using this tool? We should be doing it this way. Nobody wants to hear it. So that eventually landed me in the startup space. And that was, by then it was 2010, which is kind of early for startup space here. I was one of the first guys in the room for 1 million cups. I was at the second startup weekend that ever happened. If you're not familiar, startup weekend, you show up on a Friday, organizing the teams around ideas. And by Sunday, you have a working demo and a pitch. I read about the first one and said, oh my God, I want to do that. And so was immediately on board when the second one came around. So been very active the last 10 years in startup companies, because again, big businesses aren't as good at looking inside and saying, how can we be doing this different? But, we've got a couple founders here and I can already hear you asking those questions. And I've seen you out in the world saying, hey, how can I do better? Let's talk about my business. So, that's really kind of been my passion for the last 10 years. I ran 1 million cups as the lead organizer for about a year and a half until I moved over to the Cloud Security Alliance. And now I work for a big company called Fortinet. So I love it there because we are very internally driven. There's a lot of startup kind of aspects to it. We're asking a lot of those internal questions of how can we do better? And at the same time, we're backed, we're about 8,000 employees and, a couple billion in revenue. So it's a pretty good place to be. I am just rebooting the Cloud Security Alliance, so our, post-COVID. So June 22nd is going to be our next meetup. It's out on Eventbrite. I've got a thing posted on LinkedIn. So if you have any interest in cloud security, and that's predominantly around your public clouds, that's your AWS, your Azure, etc., then we'll just be doing an open happy hour on the 22nd. And then after that, it's all educational format. So we bring in a vendor to talk very specifically about something, whether it's credentialing or whatnot, and then do a networking portion, and that's what we do. So is that
Chris,
long and windy enough?
It was great, even though I want to dive into more of how you and Aaron are still 25 years old, but you knew each other 20 years ago. But I think it's really cool to talk about the early days of 1 Million Cups. So for a lot of people that may not know what that is, what is 1 Million Cups? When did it start? And maybe what are one or two companies a lot of people may not think started at 1 Million Cups, but maybe the origins or people coming together were brought there because of it.
Yeah. So the format is two entrepreneurs get up and talk about their business, and this is designed to not be a pitch, if you will. It is, here's my business, good and bad, what's working, what's not, and what I've been going through. And so they do that for 5 to 10 minutes, and then they sit down, and usually there's a couple of panelists, and the panelists will ask them a couple questions about their business. And then after that, you open up to the audience, and then the audience gets to ask all kinds of questions. And then we do that with 2 entrepreneurs a week, and then they get to, at the end, we say, we ask the entrepreneurs, how can the audience help? What can we do to help you? And they can say, I need downloads, I'm looking for this, I want an introduction to this type of person. And so then the community can kind of be invited in to also help them. Man, I think about every big name startup that's come through Kansas City has been there at some point. We've had tremendous participation from, just the bigger community, the big business, in providing like, hey, I'll come in and I'll be a panelist. So we made some really good connections there. It's been about a year since I've been connected to it, but when it started back in I believe it was 11, Kauffman Foundation is here. They do a ton of research on entrepreneurs. And a couple of the guys said, hey, we're doing all this research. Do any of you really know any entrepreneurs? And they realized there was kind of this disconnect. So they said, well, let's invite 2 entrepreneurs in each week, specific to Kauffman. And let's ask them these questions, tell them about our business, how's it going? And then let them ask us, how can we help? And so out of that, they decided, hey, this is going really well. We should open this up to the bigger community. And from there, it went from, I think the first time I was in the room, there were about maybe 25 of us. Tim Sylvester from Integrated Roadways was one of them. The other presenter was Andy Kallenbach, Lending Standard. So those are 2 startups that are still chugging along. And I watched that explode over the next 6 months to a year to upwards of 200 people. So it went from this tiny little, side room to the main conference room, and you couldn't get standing room only. And so they then packaged that up and said, let's take this out to other cities. And I think they're in upwards of 120 now, and 30 or 40 different countries with it. So pretty exciting to see that kind of grow and mature and still be kind of a fixture here in Kansas City.
Chris, I want to ask you. Oh, go ahead, Scott.
No, our show has a wide range of young people to people that are baby boomers, and not that that's old, but we'll get puns later for it. But we have a wide, eclectic audience, so I think it's important to kind of share these pivotal moments in our city and how they've impacted us.
So first of all, Mike says 1 Million Cups is awesome for startups. Band of Angels, which Scott and I have both been rock stars. I think we were first-year rock stars. Band of Angels was a presenter there in their second year, served as a panelist several times. So Mike Myers, he's been on the show before from Myers Music. But Chris, I do want to ask you a controversial question, which I told you guys I would.
Okay.
Controversial. But I am just fascinated by this. Look at Scott; he's always so embarrassed. Pipeline last week, when they paid the $5 million or whatever dollars, what are your thoughts on paying ransoms when it comes to the security of online and cloud and all of that?
Oh, you're talking about Colonial Pipeline?
Mm-hmm.
Man, as a whole, I'm anti-paying for ransom, right? Because there's a business model there, right? It's just like a startup. You have to figure out does the cash flow work? Well, every time you pay a ransom, the business model works. So you're now investing in that business model. So overall, I'm against it. Hard to say in this case because it is such a mission critical kind of piece of infrastructure. So yeah, that's a tough one. Honestly, I think we've got to be the problem is once you get hit with ransomware, you missed your turn 4 exits ago, right? That you should have been doing those things ahead of time. And I think where we're most guilty is not doing the work ahead of time and thinking we'll be okay, we can get by without this. Startups is an incredibly interesting space, right? Because you don't have all the resources. You have to make a lot of these choices, right? You can't necessarily have the #1 cybersecurity program out of the gate, but you also have to make very smart decisions as to like, what is our risk and what happens, and make sure that you are investing in it when it's the right time. And I think we're still in a market where a lot of companies don't do that, even as large ones.
Right. I'm interested from our audience. Would you pay, or would you say, no, we're going to figure it out and let it go on a little bit longer? This is something I'm in a lot of entrepreneur chat rooms, and this is something people are talking about a lot, and why it's so important to have all of your security, your cloud security, your online security, all of it very strong. Yeah, Carlanda?
Maybe do some, I don't know that everyone watching knows the background. Maybe you want to give some background about what happened so that people can share their opinions.
Okay, well, I probably am not the person to do this, but essentially Colonial Pipeline was their security was tarnished, and they couldn't put gas out to the East Coast. We're lucky we're in the Midwest, so we don't know the background, but the East Coast was essentially, I think we've all seen the memes of people putting gas inside the plastic bags and stuff like that. They literally, I don't know if you guys know Ben Rao, he owns Bridge Space in Lee Summit, but he was out there and couldn't get to the airport to get a shower because there's a gas shortage that much. It's back up and going, but essentially the people that caused the security problem said, for $5 million, we'll give you back all of your stuff. You can start doing gas again, right? So essentially, in my entrepreneur groups, all of my things that people in my rooms that I talk in, that sounds so weird. People are saying, would you pay the ransoms or would you not pay the ransoms? Because essentially, like Chris said, it does become a business model. And now, does that put us at bigger risk for more people to take away more stuff, right? So essentially $5 million lets you figure out how to do a lot more stuff. So let us know over here. Thank you, Carlanda. I assume people read their social media memes, right? I know all my stuff from like People Magazine and social media. So this Lacey says she just hired Havens as a security guard.
Is that scalable?
I did bartend and wait tables, and I was a security guard that was told to wear glasses and a suit. I was the doorman from, what was it, Knocked Up, or like, you stink, doorman. That was me.
And you're able to get on here every week, so you've got the whole online thing figured out. You're totally.
Oh yeah, I know it a lot. Aaron shows me how to do it.
All right. Well, thank you, Chris. I know I promised no controversial questions, but I just couldn't stop thinking of it. I don't know what I'd do either. So, okay, we've got to get on. If you don't know who he is yet, well, I don't think there's anyone here that doesn't know who he is yet. I was super excited when Jessica booked him for the show. John, who are you? What do you do? And how do you get to Kansas City?
I love Jessica Powell. Well, I returned to KC. I spent most of my career on each coast, and returned 3 years ago to build Tesseract. So I'm happy to be here and build another startup here in KC.
All right. Well, that was not anywhere near your
So
40.
tell us a little bit about Tesseract, and then a lot of people want to talk about, just for the audience members, when you get a rookie card of someone in their rookie season, or you meet someone early on in your career, like, when you saw a band before they got big, and then you hear them on the radio. This is a moment for a lot of people that John's doing a lot of things that affect a lot of things outside of Kansas City, and doing a lot of really cool things that's drawing a lot of attention. So the Business Journal fans, we have lots of them, have read about you. But if you're not reading the Business Journal, how would you explain your company to the audience?
Sure. Yeah, Tesseract is a unique company. It's composed of 3 studios. We have Cyber Physical, which specializes in robotics and AI. We have Future Lab, which is our advanced R&D group. It's chock full of engineers and software, electrical, mechanical engineers, people that can draw 2D, 3D, a bunch of nerds, makers, real people that can craft things with not only their mind, but execute in real product. And it's a unique company because we're focusing on the future of robotics and artificial intelligence, and so we built quite a quite a powerful startup team, and I'm excited about that. the company's firing on all cylinders. We specialize in a couple of different industries. One, as our core focus is the United States military, our men and women in the military, all kinds of advanced robots and key software. We also have this other studio, this third one, called Experiential Entertainment, and that's where we have writers and people that create all kinds of entertainment and brand platforms. Sometimes we do a toy. Toy business is kind of interesting. So that studio licenses intellectual property out to other companies to manufacture, market, and sell our IP, and we've been quite successful at it. And I'm delighted to be part of the show. Thank you for inviting me.
One thing that's interesting is when Coda was interacting was contact tracing, or being able to wear a wearable. Can you talk about that and where kind of how that technology has evolved and what you see the future of it being?
Sure. Yeah. So we invented a wearable robotic system that we call Prism, and that is we're initiating that technology now in the shipping, logistics, military, and construction verticals. It turned out that one of the, many features of what the system does, but back to contact tracing, we developed these very small wearables that are deployed in let's say on a construction site to get people back to work. And we're able to create with that wearable robot kind of a virtual bubble around a human or a machine. And we know precisely where the worker or the robot is on site within a couple centimeters, 5 to 10 centimeters. And when those two intersect, if I'm walking up to a person and I'm in a certain distance from one person to the other, we know who they are, where they are, and how long they spent in that vicinity. It turns out it became an important feature because then it allowed you to proximity trace and social distance. But the real invention is if you can determine where people are at and their work efficiency, then you can predict in real time. We know exactly what's going on in real time on a site. And if we understand past events and real-time events, then we can use our technology to predict what could happen in the future, just a hair in the future. And that's been extremely successful for us. And so we took all that information and we built what we call a Tesseract. And we call it a Tesseract because it's from a movie called Interstellar. Some people think it's from Marvel, and I used to work for Stan Lee. Actually, I ran R&D. It's so great, but we called the room, this environment, a Tesseract, and we're able to visualize all this information in real time in a spatial way, not necessarily on a 2D screen at all, more of a spatial environment where you can see multiple streams of data at the same time, and that helps humans make very important decisions really quickly, and some of them are automated. So it took us some time to build the machine, but it's awesome. And so there'll be more information about it soon. We're making some pretty big announcements very soon on that front.
I love how you were like,
Go
sorry,
ahead,
but we can't ignore that he's like, well, I used to work for Stan Lee.
That's exactly what I was like, Stacy Prosser, here's your next Business Journal story. Marvel movie comes out, interview John.
I used to work for Stan Lee. No big deal. I love this as a mom of teenage boys. I love this question. Were you ever in FIRST Robotics growing up?
Okay, well, I'm almost 50, so FIRST wasn't around then. But I have to.
Everyone looks so young on this panel.
Yeah, thank you so much.
It's a filter.
Oh.
The AI.
Uh-huh.
I love FIRST though. The guy who started it is a really famous inventor from Deca Research, and he's the one that invented the Segway. And I think they have a great invention studio on the East Coast, and so the real inventor behind FIRST is a guy named Dean Kamen, who's a real icon when it comes to invention in the world, but not in FIRST. But I did have all those electronic kits from Radio Shack. That's how I got into it. And that's how I got into electronics. To just take everything apart, put it back together, flip the switch, hopefully that it works. Most of the time it did, and I just kept doing that between building robots and learning how to code.
Our Gen Zers are currently Googling Radio Shack.
It's not around anymore.
Okay, so I'm fascinated by the AI space. I'm one of those nerds too. I can't do it, but I'm just so fascinated. What's your favorite AI thing you see coming out will be like, how did we not live without this?
That's a good question. Well, I think in business, okay, I can take some of the things that take a leaf from some of the things that we're doing and kind of extrapolate it. I think the ability to let's say on a site where we have a mixture of machine and human doing work, the ability to predict health and safety events before they happen is really, really big. And turns out it's extremely important. And so you have to have a tool set to intake all kinds of information, telemetry, to be able to make any predictions at all. And so I'll give you a perfect example. So wearing a Prism badge or a wearable robot that we deployed. Imagine if you're on a construction site and there's a machine a crane that's coming this way, and you're aware of every single person's position and identity on the site. We could predict that there could be a potential accident way before it happens. And so because we can address each badge or groups individually, we can send alerts or create virtual zones for people to muster to if there was some sort of an event. And that's a true positive use of AI.
Right.
Yeah, I would say that's for your company from a revenue. Aaron, I apologize. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. Go ahead, Scott.
From a revenue generating standpoint, that's mind blowing. So drive away cams. So think of like if you're delivering in a vehicle or UPS, FedEx, the cameras look at your eyes, which from the insurance business that I'm in has drastically changed and taken accidents down because we're not looking at our phones. And right. So I get approached by people all the time in the cybersecurity space saying, hey, if we did these parameters, could we lower our insurance costs? The answer is yes, but it's financially nothing. But if you can eliminate someone from a work comp injury that would last them for their whole life, that could hurt them and impair their work, you're talking some major insurance dollars. Absolutely. From that standpoint. And that's really cool that Kansas City, an organization like yours, John, is pioneering that technology. I mean, that would be huge for our city in general.
Thank you for that. I would say one more thing on the use of AI real quick. The ability to predict incoming assets to a site or a base or an installation is also equally as important, because there's, at least when people are building something, or if it's a construction site or waiting for some inventory to arrive, a lot of people stand around just waiting. So we've developed beyond wearable robots, other types of technology that's embedded in incoming inventory. And we could predict exactly when the material was on site, and we could address those badges immediately, say, hey, go to this exact location. We have a little e-paper display, like a Kindle display on the badge, so we can send maps, lists, to-do lists, pictures, all kinds of things to the badge, and to prepare the human to be a better worker, more efficient, and then thereby rewind the entire day and the work style and the efficiency of a human and machine. That's where this becomes very, very powerful. And we think that if we left the technology after the construction phase in the building, that the building itself becomes aware of its needs. It knows exactly where people are. We can immediately take a carbon footprint, air quality, power requirements anywhere in the building. So the invention is the future of ownership, not necessarily the robots being used in the construction phase, if that makes sense.
I like earlier you said those are the positive things. And I was just reminded that this weekend I watched The Mitchells versus the Machines with my kids. It's the new movie about when the robots take over the world.
Yeah.
But in the end, the humans win.
Really good guys.
But you said the positive thing.
Mark Basola wanted me to ask that question today, and it somehow snuck its way in. I wasn't going to do it, but he did it.
Basola is, I don't know if he told you, he's got a strong right cross. He's a Golden Gloves champion.
He was a Notre Dame boxing champion. So if you guys ever get a chance to hang out with Mark Basola at Enterprise Bank, he was a boxing champion at Notre Dame.
Yeah. I was going to say, we usually just drink with him, and then Janae says, go Army. All right, guys. Well, here's the deal. We have such a fascinating panel. Actually, people keep pointing that out. Brett says, this is an unbelievable panel. Fascinating stuff from all over the panelists. How do we get more KC kids to understand what the entrepreneurial scene is like here, that it's potential career choice? Hey, just tell them to watch this show, Brett. We're going to get to your question, but what I want to do real quick is, because you guys are in such fascinating fields, I'm just going to skip straight to Wendy's question. She's here, Scott. This is where you act. Yep. The favorite. Scott's acting skills at their very best. Mm-hmm. But I think because you guys are all in such amazing, you're in such different walks of life, but we're all talking about technology. I think her question is perfect today, and I didn't even know that. I just chose it. So let's start with this, and then Kaitlin will have you answer, and we'll go through this question.
What technology platform could your business absolutely not operate without?
Oh, that's such a good question. There's so many though, honestly. But okay, one. Got it, Scott. Okay, gosh.
That's what makes it hard.
Oof. Yeah, and I don't even have the AI stuff yet. Okay.
Feel free to give a couple. Don't feel pigeonholed or anything.
I do kind of feel like right now it's got to be the market-based, honestly, because that's allows me to scale myself in a way that I wouldn't be able to otherwise. So, yeah, I'm going to have to say that. But otherwise, I'd say socials in general. That's a pretty important part of my job. So, yeah.
Carlanda, how about you?
I have a list. Okay. I'll say Wix, because I built my website, my initial landing page website, and launched my waitlist on Wix, which, if you're watching, sign up for our waitlist, www.botify.io/shopper, and sign up, and we'll let you know when you can start shopping for things. Number two would be, there's a website called Bubble, and it's a no-code platform. And I built out our entire workflow and just sent that link to our architect and code this, make this come to life. And it saved me so much time. And it took me maybe a week to, between all the other things I do, to just build out our platform on Bubble. And the third one, that's two. We'll stick with those two. Except Bubble.
Good example. Yeah. Great example.
Oh, and Deepomatic. Sorry.
Well, what is that? AI. Gotta explain that.
We need to know what that is too.
It's kind of like not necessarily a no code for AI work. It helps you automate stuff. So I don't use it that much. Our developer does.
I feel like it would still be way over my head, is all I'm sitting here thinking, is that still sounds hard.
I just see the name and emails a lot. So I'm like, we use this. Yeah.
Awesome. Chris, what is a technology you could not do without? And because you're in business development.
Yeah.
Do you use Salesforce?
Do I use Salesforce? Oh, man, that's a loaded question. Yes, we use Salesforce. It's incredibly frustrating. So our instance is not set up for salespeople. It's for everybody else, in my opinion. If you're gonna break me over the coals over this, I've used HubSpot in the past and would love to use that again, because it's more about contacts and managing those sorts of things. And fun tip out there, if you are not running your own personal instance of a CRM, you should be. So I run a personal instance of HubSpot because I manage my contacts and my notes. And then that way, I'm only 25 years old, but when I get a little older and I have 20 years of history with people, then I can go back and I met him 10 years ago. Here's the notes on where we met, all the all that sort of information. Incredibly valuable. And I kick myself for waiting this long in life to do it.
So what's the technology you can't live without? And then I've got one more Salesforce.
Yep. Phone. It's absolutely my phone. You can take away my laptop. You can take away different programs and things. You can take away the CRM. Having that flexibility, because for me, it's two key things, right? It's communication and it's knowledge. And that gives me access to both, whether it's depending on what format it's in, right? Text messaging goes down, I can email. Emailing goes down, ping them on social media. Like but I need that flexibility. That's it.
I love that you brought up the Salesforce thing, because I think you, me, and Scott are all Salesforce people.
Mm-hmm.
I think that at the end of the day, this is really good for not the salespeople, for the CEOs, for the sales managers, for all of those people to hear. When you make a salesperson's job admin, you take away the ability to be excited about sales. And so I have this dream that one day I'm going to learn something about technology and build a CRM that you just say real quick what all needs to be in there so everybody's happy. And then you just go on to selling, right? Because I'm excited. Okay, I just talked to Chris and he's got to do this and da-da-da-da. And it just built, it's in the, John, it's in the AI space. I'm looking at you, right? So essentially just, I want the bosses to hear that, because I was in sales forever before I started my company, and your face said it all when I said, what about Salesforce? It said everything you need to know about getting a sales guy excited. So thank you.
I think it's more of just the micromanaging of people, that no one wants to be micromanaged. And what's a big thing going on right now for sales, say you are 25 like Chris, is people are having to do sales blitzes via Zoom. So they go on Zoom and you have to cold call on Zoom so your manager can watch you. And I'm talking about all the companies you think of any major Fortune 1000 company. This is all real. And I think it goes back to being micromanaged, which is important when you are 25, like I was when I was 25. I needed to be micromanaged to learn the craft. But as you get older, I mean, the Salesforce thing's ridiculous. If you tell anyone over 30 that they need to input their data and they're closing a big deal, they're going to leave your company.
Well,
I was just thinking that people still work at these companies that make them do these things.
So as the boss, I get it from a data space, right? Getting all that in there, getting really if you have a good email drip campaign, you get in there, it can help you as a salesperson, but it just becomes a full-time job, especially the more robust it seems that the technology has become when you're trying to put everything into one space. So I get it as the boss, but then I also get it as a salesperson, like, you want me to sell, I got to focus on what I'm good at, and I'm not an admin person. So I love that you made that face. And yes, Carlanda, people still work at these companies, so make better technology. All right, John. Oh, look, I don't know Lacey, but I love her. She's in it today. So thank you,
Lacey. Maybe be speaking from experience, and now she's selling fractional planes and as a medical real estate developer living her dreams. So maybe people should learn. You could lose your number one asset.
John, what is the technology you could not live without? And did you build it?
Yeah. So, well, it's interesting. So I would say that, for communication and meetings and just the Google SDK is fantastic. It covers email and storage and makes it real easy to connect and collaborate with people. But I was going to say, this for a little bit of inspiration, the one tool we use every day is the one that we invented, this room. I'm not in it now, but imagine being able to walk into this Tesseract environment and the environment knows who you are. So when I walk in, it says, "Welcome, John," and all my schedule shows up. The documents that myself and maybe somebody from my Future Lab group, when we both walk in, all the work that we're working on together and collaborating on shows up in the room in a spatial way. And we've built in, since we're in robotics, we have cameras everywhere and extremely precise microphones that are directional. And so when we're talking to somebody in a meeting, like it's not today, I'm in another location, but in the room, we analyze. On one screen we see you. On the next screen we see everything about you, where you work, like a complete dossier on who we're talking to. And because we've developed robots in the past that understood that determine intent, we know if you're lying or not. So when we walk into that environment, we use it to brainstorm, to collaborate, to get inspired and innovate. So that's the one tool. It's like a future machine that makes you the best you and presents information easily and in your field of view. So we couldn't run the business without the Tesseract, but it took some time to build between Google and a smart space, I would say, is what I use to be collaborative and efficient.
So Aaron, we've had, I don't know, 50, 60 some shows, 200, 250 guests for Bank of Blue Valley, but we finally get to ask a question of like, okay, here's a question, but did you actually build it? So that was, talk about timing.
Yeah.
I know, we really worked up to that. I have a follow-up question. Do you ever just stop and go, I developed the Jetsons. I'm living the Jetsons. Because that's what I'm thinking, right? That's what I thought this world was going to be like when I was a little girl. But it sounds like that is what your world is like.
It is. It's very inspiring and very gratifying to create these high technologies today and to have them manifest in front of our faces. And so it's so important to get the right group of people that can create the technology and create it in your mind, reduce it to practice, engineer and build it, and then deploy and sell it. It's extremely difficult to do, but with the right group of people, it can happen. And so when you ring the doorbell at the Tesseract, we'll surround you with 5 robots. And so you may be able to kick one in the face, but you can't kick off all 5. It's a really wonderful place. It's wow. It's not Willy Wonka, but it's a mixture of Minority Report and like a Marvel movie. I would say it's like except it's real, you know. So I'd invite everybody on the call to come down. We'd love to host you.
Careful, we're gonna have a couple thousand people watch this.
The robots are
going to be there.
Yeah, you're gonna get a lot of you'll get a lot of attention. A lot of salespeople will be reaching out to you, trying to find a way to get in there.
I love how it goes. It's like a Marvel movie. I worked for Stanley.
Sure.
I cannot wait to leak a story to the Business Journal. Like, oh, it's Friday, got nothing. Hey, this movie's coming out. Interview John. That's a great story. I can't believe I personally would love to consume that information and read about that. I think that'd be cool.
Come on down. All right, real quick, I'm going to ask the audience and maybe our panel guests afterwards. I do not want to ignore Brett's question. Brett, we don't have enough time to answer it because our panels were so fascinating today. We didn't even get to our own 3 questions. But can people put in the comments over here, how do we get more KC kids to understand what the entrepreneurial scene is like here, or that it's a potential career choice? Because I think that is really, really important, especially now that we're on YouTube. I feel like maybe the kids want to see us. So let us know in the comments that. And then what I want to do, this is a cool comment too. Love this movie comparisons, helps people understand things. And then earlier we had a quick comment, and then we're going to get to Scott's favorite part of the show. Carlanda, Veronica loves the idea for shoppers and retailers. So lots of awesome comments. Jennifer Dehan's going to be hosting on the 8th with me. And Matt Moylan is currently booking podcast guests after we forced him on the show to finally start his podcast. So if you have an idea and you bring it up on the show, we will strong arm you into following your dreams. Our favorite part, not my favorite part of the show, I mean, it's fine, but it's Scott's absolute favorite part of the show is the Icebreaker Question that he also will do if you ever go to any in-person event with him, even if you just think you're going to happy hour. So Scott, you've got 5 minutes left, so everybody's got 60 seconds to answer this. What is today's Icebreaker Question?
This could crash and burn, but since this is a show of entrepreneurs here, we're going to give a question that may take some time, but we're going to start off with Kaitlin. What is a white lie that you told your parents maybe in high school? So we talked about the Nest camera, looking at the liquor bottles, and you can no longer fill up the liquor bottle with water and pull one over on your parents. So is there a white lie?
We talked about that pre-show.
That you we talked about that pre-show that you told your parents in high school that you were supposed to be somewhere, but you weren't.
they're not watching. I think that one time when I had my learner's permit and I had the access to the car when I had somebody with me who was driving, I think I might have taken it one time for a little joyride, and they didn't luckily ever find out about it. Yeah.
Is that what Janae knows about?
I know the answer. I don't know what she's talking about. No. Yeah, I think that's probably it.
Okay,
I was
Carlanda,
pretty
got
open.
3 minutes left.
3 minutes? What? Oh. Okay.
Oh, so my parents definitely aren't watching, so this is fine. I wrecked their car, and it was because I was trying to hit my little sister in the back seat, and I turned the steering wheel and took out our neighbor's mailbox. But I told them it was because my water bottle rolled under the brakes and I couldn't stop it. So they believed me, and I did not lose driving privileges. Yeah, I think that's
Chris, what about you? What's a white lie you may have told your parents in high school?
Oh man, this is tough because as a
that was
teenager,
7 years ago.
Yeah, 7 years ago. Because there's a lot. There's a laundry list. But I would say we had these old like window boxes that you'd plant flowers in on my bedroom window that were left from the previous owners, and I would like steal my report cards and like bury them in it. And then I'd be like, I don't know, I guess it just didn't show up again, because I would get them out of the mailbox because they were bad. They were real bad.
John, what's a white lie you may have told your parents in high school?
Well, I have an added advantage. I'm an identical twin. So I'm a mirror image identical twin. So we got away with all kinds of crazy shenanigans. But from the white lie perspective, I remember remember encyclopedias? Remember those things? My brother and I would sell encyclopedias door to door, and we had to, it was World Book, not Britannica, it was World Book, and we had to put a tie on, put a suit on, have to take a walk around all the kinds of neighborhoods and try to sell these books. And so we would always say, hey, we sold, we walked 5-10 blocks, but really we went and sold one block, and then the rest of the time we went to the Row pool. I don't know if you know where that is. There used to be a pool off a Row, and we'd sell for an hour or so, and then we'd just go straight to the pool for the rest of the day. And they didn't find that out till they caught us at the pool. So it was kind of like you were over there, but we were over here. So craziness.
So Aaron, when you were eating square pizza in Gardner for your favorite cafeteria food, what was a white lie you told your parents?
Well, I got caught that night, and one of our guests 3 weeks ago remembered it randomly, even though we had never met. So it's a good time. I went to Gardner, but the cute boys went to Spring Hill. So I went to a Spring Hill party to see a boy, but I told my parents I was working at Applebee's in Olathe, and I put my car in the ditch and wrecked it. And that was before cell phones, so I had to walk back to the party and have somebody drive me. Well, the cute boy drove me, and apparently it was a big Spring Hill memory that I learned 3 weeks ago. And fun fact, I'm not really 25, so I don't know why people really remember that. But when you said encyclopedias, Chris held his face like he's still 25, like he had no idea what an encyclopedia was. So I was very impressed with that. Scott, how about you? Finish us up.
Well, that's awesome that you were dating a boy on the baseball team that the minister for the Kansas City Chiefs happened to know. And when I was having coffee with the minister of the Chiefs, he's like, yeah, I think I know the guy she dated. So it's really interesting. I was, this is a little staged here because I had a lot of them, but I dressed up as a referee with those big blinder glasses on, and I broke a limb off of a tree, walked into a varsity basketball game on the middle of the floor and pretended I was visually impaired, which proceeded to get me kicked out. And so I couldn't stay at the game because I was hosting a keg party at my house and my parents were at the game. So I was a bad kid. We were the type of kids that when my parents left for, 90 minutes, there was a party and a lot of shenanigans going on. So hence why I took 7 years to graduate in college. But Aaron, let's wrap it up.
You're a hot mess. Good thing I came along to straighten you up. Me and Julie and Melissa. All right. Well, thank you so much to our guests. here's the deal. All of our guests are tagged right here on LinkedIn. So please follow them, connect with them, support them. They did us all a solid by coming on and letting us all learn a lot of stuff. So please support them. We're going to be back here same time at 3:00 next Tuesday. We're going to have a whole new panel. We really appreciate you. Please go answer the questions about how students can get involved with entrepreneurial scene, and we'll see you next week. Have a wonderful week.